All right. So continuing on, and throughout these posts, like I said, I will be, I guess, clarifying. So if I say something, I go back because I'm doing these extemporaneously. I don't pre-script them or nothing. I just shoot from the hip. Um, so there's times that I'll have to clarify, and I'll do that to the best of my ability here. Um, so I'm not here to glorify or anything like that. And there's plenty of folks that are out there already talking about decisions they've made and the people that have carried out these actions. There's tons of stuff out there on that. So I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the people that are left behind, the the other victims. Because if they're a victim of a crime as a result of their actions, often the people that are left behind that love them or cared about them, there's a resonating consequence for them as well. They're without a father, they're without a husband. You might go from two incomes to one income. There's going to be graduations, and there's going to be events in life that are now uh, missing something. So that's my focal point. Is I want to talk to those people. I want people to hear that because there's tons of folks right now that I've been seeing that are talking to the people that carried out the actions, and so and their contributions are beneficial and mentally nutritional to people that may not want to go down those paths, or they're just letting them know like, hey, get it how you live, but there's an X factor. Um, but I think it's important to tell the stories of the people that were left behind. And some people knew. There's plenty of people who knew what was going on, so they may have had their hand in it by enabling. That's the importance of not enabling and, you know, holding your ground with a qualifier that you may have been enabling, because if something goes wrong down the line, it's going to be in your mind that maybe you could have stopped it, right? But you didn't have enough strength to stop enabling them or being you're codependent. So hearing their side of it, their children's side of it, I think is just a crucial piece of the pie. And so I'm gonna tell the story, but I'm not here to glorify anybody or anything. I don't. I mean, there's people I would rather glorify for having done good things. Um, but it's yin and yang. You got to understand the negative to what the people that do positive do, you know, to complete the story and the narrative. You got the yin and the yang. You got so, um, like with David Barone. I didn't know David Barone. I've never met him. I was in youth authority at Fred C. Nellis School for Boys, um, in the lead program, and before that I was in SRC Norwalk, and I was in our family. So that was just before my time. I mean, I was around, but that, like I said, I wasn't party to any of that. And I ended up, through mutual friendships, ended up meeting a woman that her family, like her father, like I said, became victim to, a victim of kidnapping and murder to the, people in question, the cartel. And when I was deployed with the U.S. Army, she went and stayed with a friend, and then I ended up bumping into that friend and her husband later on, and established a relationship with them, and so on and so on. But I'm not going to glorify. I'm actually going to tell you there's things that happen behind the scene that are interesting. Those are life lessons to learn right there. But there's like the Netflix series Narcos, and there's tons of YouTube videos. But I always trip out on cognitive intervention and thinking errors, and some of the like lack of time perspective for people who get in trouble for doing certain things, and they go to prison and they're gone for a long time, and they come home, and rather than like living in the moment right then and there and going forward from that moment, they're the thinking errors, the lack of time perspective, where they're expecting everybody else who continued on the timeline moving forward to go back to the moment in time where they left off, because time stood still for them, and they're constantly trying to get back that time that they lost, as opposed to just being like, hey, let me focus on the time in front of me. And I see the thinking error of some of the folks that, they're trying to self actualize. I watch some of these videos, and some of them are comfortable with the decisions they made, They want to make right the wrongs that they did, but some of them still are trying to deal with having gone from being in one position and the glory and the power that they thought that it came with it to go into the complete adverse of that and trying to self-actualize and just do. That's a mental obstacle right there in itself. You got to be okay with what you did or you didn't do, yada yada. But in this complicated uh, disillusion of marriage that I'm stuck in the middle of as unrepresented, don't have the money for an attorney. You got to make a decision. Unfortunately, in some of these divorces, if you have the money, do you just blow away all the money that you want to set aside for your children because of conflict and all that crap? Do you just do you forego that? Do you just demolish everything that you've worked hard to build on? So there's these choices you have to make, and one of them is like some of them they're not choices you can make. I mean, well, you may have, on the one hand, do you not pay your bills and then you give it to an attorney and then just put yourself in a really bad situation, or you do your best to try to represent yourself because you don't have the money for a full retainer to get it on up front, right? And so you may be in a position like I am where you're at a disadvantage as a pro se or improper litigant, self-represented litigant, and you're up against a seasoned attorney, which I am. Um, and that's a circumstance I face. Many people have done it. Some of them have not came out in very well in the end as a result. And I'm not a paid attorney. I'm not here for money. I'm here to protect my child. I'm here to defend my child, and I'm here to make sure that the behavior that was discharged up until this point doesn't press forward, and that the games that they're playing and the personal attacks and the lies and all that stuff that further would put my child in harm by enabling this individual, the respondent in this matter, and the enablers, the circle of how would you say, well-placed enablers and enablers that hold very important positions that you face an obstacle to get past as well. Because if you go and that was what I ran into, was when I begged the respondent to do the right thing considering the history. Look at everything that was done. Like, we could do better. You could do better. I'll be there. You be there for me. Let's be each other's strength. And all those fucked up ass enablers that are self-defeatist themselves and know, the ones that didn't know but then did know but then continue going for it. But then there's the ones who knew because they were there and they were party to all the chaotic shit that caused turmoil in her life that caused that. So all of those people, to include the ones that still live at home with their parents and all that shit, that are still shooting themselves in the foot, and then there's the other ones that hold really compelling positions here in Napa County. So you hit a wall if you're like, hey, yo, my spouse needs help. What do you mean she needs help? She's the greatest on the planet. What? Well, there's a history. What do you mean? And so that's the first obstacle you're going to hit, because they ain't going to want to see past that. And she said that. She said, if you ever would try to divorce or whatever, they're never going to believe you. They're only going to believe me because of what I do. And I was like, what? That's fucked up to say, like, look at what you did, man. I mean, that's fucked up what you did. We'll get further into that. Like I said, I'm going to lay out the evidence and then you be the judge. Because those enablers that hold these positions that were also getting drunk and drinking with her and I mean, we're not talking about just like, hey, a couple beers watching the game and all that bullshit, man. That's the lie they're going to want to try to tell. That's the lie they did tell in court. To include her attorney, Gregory Winter. He went in there and helped facilitate these bullshit lies. And I told them, if you guys go in there and lie, I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to go to the regulators. I'm going to make sure that every one lie you told, 3 truths will be known. And that's what I'm going to do every time they lie, because the lies potentially put my son in harm's way. If she's out getting drunk with these idiots and these people are like, oh yeah, girl, you fuck that, can't tell me, because they ain't got shit going for them. They can't get a man to marry. I mean, look, the bulk of them aren't married. They can't get a dude to marry him, but yet they're advising somebody who abandoned their child to go get drunk and sell drugs with Marvin fucking Mace, Cheddar Bob Marvin Mace. That was the decision she made. And then after all that stuff, getting the DUIs and arrested, what did she do? She tries to put that fool still in a role model position for her son. So all these people who didn't know, but there's also the ones that did know, you guys know what happened. And so when you saw her, you shouldn't have been breaking out 20 cases and 30 cases and inviting your friends over and they bring more alcohol. She is an alcoholic. You know, she was doing good. But you guys kept going with the same bullshit behavior. And a lot of y'all live at home with your mom and dad still. Or can't pay your rent. Or blow all your money on partying. And put these facades up on social media like you got money, but you can't even pay your own rents. Always broke. Always trapped in addiction. And while you're coked out, she's trying to keep pace with you drinking. Because she doesn't understand how that works. That you can drink all night long. And she's trying to keep up with you because it's all about the ego. Like, oh, who can drink the most? And can you hold your... But you guys can't hold your drink, man. You guys can drink a bunch, but you guys act silly. And well, so we'll go through that. But going back to David Barone, one of the things that always tripped me out is my brother-in-law, my spouse in this whole endeavor, her brother. And he was reputable. He was known. He was feared. He had built himself a name. But he made a foolish decision to go victimize other people, and as a result, they gave him like 20 years, and so he had to leave his daughters behind and go do all this time. Whatever happened went wrong. He couldn't cut it, hanging out with other violent people in prison, and he had to go to an SNY yard. Not hating on him, do whatever you got to do, to come home to your kids. I mean, to an extent, but it shows that, like, hey, there's tougher people out there when you ain't got a gun and when you're not, I don't know, tying up a house full of people. But so he should be like comfortable just letting that be. Is like, hey, the game is over for me. I don't know if he debriefed or whatever, but it's like, yo, obviously, it's like you went to an SNY yard, so it just wasn't for you. So, he says he found God and everything. And he came home, he's doing great, man. He was like working. Yeah, I kept my eye on him because it's like, hey, this person's, really close to my spouse, and she cares about what happens to him, and I cared about what happened to him because it impacts his daughters, the mother, and they got an interesting dynamic to begin with. A lot of them are going through stuff, the brother, the other sister, and yada yada, but we'll get further into that. So I kept my eye closely on this dude, and then when he started screwing up, I was like, hey, you might want to talk to your brother. But he would drive up here to Northern California, and we'd be driving around, doing family things, and he has a stock system, and he would have this thing at full blast, this music, and it was glorifying Popeye from Logan. And I was kind of looking at him like, I don't know, I just thought it was weird because he was just so like, yeah, this is and I was like, 5 minutes ago he was talking about Christianity. Now he's over here glorifying somebody who like murdered a bunch of people, right? But it like as if he knew him, but he didn't know the dude. He wasn't involved in any of this. He's not from Logan. He didn't know Popeye. Didn't even know that they called him Sayachi on the other side of the border. The only reason why I know a lot of that stuff is because I was really close to his niece, his favorite niece, and so it was just awkward for me to see him glorify the dude through the music and just like, he was riding dude's dick hard. And the reality is, you rolled it up off of a main yard onto an SNY yard. So the guy that you're glorifying in this song would have you killed. So it just seems like it's not processing mentally that like, yo, you were hard. You went to a place where there's hard people to face the consequences for the actions and the victimization that you did against other people, but you couldn't cut it. So you had to go to an SNY yard. And so it's like, it's time to let that shit go. Self-actualize. But what I was seeing was thinking errors of somebody who didn't want to let go of that. And that happens more often than not.